Martha and I have been talking all last week about your sermon last Sunday. It's really wonderful, Dr. Harper. In only 2 short years, you've taken on the spirit of Brooklyn.
That's very gratifying, Miss Brewster.
You see, living here next to the church all our lives, we've seen so many ministers come and go. The spirit of Brooklyn, we always say, is friendliness, and your sermons are not so much sermons, but as friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my talks with Cardinal Gibbons. Or have I met him yet?
No, dear, not yet. Are the biscuits good?
Bully!
Would you like another biscuit, Dr. Harper?
No, thank you. I'm afraid I'll have no appetite for supper now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam.
But you haven't tried the quince. We always put a little apple in with it to take the tartness out.
No, thank you.
We'll send you over a jar.
No, you keep it here so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it.
I do hope they don't make us use that imitation flour again. I mean, with this war trouble. It may not be very charitable of me, but I've almost come to the conclusion that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian.
If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, sir!
Yes, Teddy.
Point your gun the other way.
Gun.
Teddy.
To the west. There's your danger. There's your enemy. Japan.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Teddy.
No, Aunt Abby. Not so much talk about Europe and more about the canal.
Well, let's not talk about war. Would you like another cup of tea, dear?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Dr. Harper?
No, thank you. I must admit, Miss Abby, that war and violence seem far removed from these surroundings.
It is peaceful here, isn't it? It's one of the oldest houses in Brooklyn. It's just as it was when Grandmother Brewster built and furnished it, except for the electricity. And we used it as little as possible. It was Mortimer who persuaded us to put it in.
Yes, well, I can understand that. Your nephew Mortimer seems to live only by electric light.
The poor boy has to work so late. I understand he's taking Elaine with him again to the theater tonight. Teddy, your brother Mortimer will be by a little later.
Delighted.
We're so glad that it's Elaine that Mortimer takes to the theater with him.
Yes, well, it's a new experience for me to wait until 3 o'clock in the morning for my daughter to be brought home.
Oh, Dr. Harper, I hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well, Miss Abby, I'll be frank with you. I worry of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater.
The theater? Oh, no, Dr. Harper. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper.
I know, Miss Abby, I know. But a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theater, and I don't doubt but what some of them do develop an interest in it.
Well, not Mortimer. You need to have no fear of that. Why, Mortimer hates the theater.
Really?
Oh, yes, he writes awful things about it. But you can't blame him, poor boy. He was so happy writing about real estate, which he really knew something about. But then they just made him take this terrible night position.
My.
But as he says, the theater can't last much longer, and in the meantime, it's a living. Yes, if we get the theater another year or 2, perhaps. No, thank you, Teddy. I'll go. Come in, Mr. Brophy.
Why, hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Mr. Klein?
Very well, Miss Brewster.
What news have you brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Splendid! Thank you, gentlemen. At ease.
You know Dr. Harper?
Why, sure. Hello, Dr. Harper.
We've come to get the toys for the Christmas fund.
Oh, yes. Teddy, go upstairs and get that big box from Aunt Martha's room. How's Mrs. Brophy today? Mrs. Brophy's been quite ill, Dr. Harper.
Pneumonia.
I'm very sorry.
Oh, she's doing fine, ma'am. Just a little weak still.
I'm going to get you some beef broth to take to her.
Oh, don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for her already.
Oh, we'll only take a minute. Sit down and be comfortable, all of you. Sister Martha's taking some to poor Mr. Beninsky right now.
She shouldn't go to all that trouble.
Listen, try to stop her or her sister from doing something nice. And for what? They don't even care how you vote.
When I received my call to Brooklyn and moved next door, my wife wasn't well. When she died, and for months before, well, if I know what pure kindness and absolute generosity are, it's because I've known the Brewster sisters.
Colonel, you promised not to do that.
But I have to call a cabinet meeting to get through a lease of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyway.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
I suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
Darn shame. a nice family like this hatching a cuckoo?
Well, his father, the old girl's brother, seems to me I've heard he was some sort of a genius. And their father, Teddy's grandfather, well, I've heard he was a little crazy too.
Yeah, crazy like a fox. He made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. He was kind of a quack of some sort. Old Sergeant Edwards remembers him. He used the house here on some sort of clinic. Tried him out on people.
Yeah, and I hear he used to make mistakes occasionally too.
The department never bothered him as much, because he was pretty useful on the autopsy sometimes, especially poison cases.
Well, whatever he did, he left his daughters fixed for life, and thank God for that.
Not that they ever spent any of it on themselves.
Yes, I'm well acquainted with their charities.
Oh, you don't know a tenth of it. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, I was trying to trace an old man that we never did find. Did you know that there's a renting agency that's got this house down on its list for furnished rooms? They don't rent rooms, but you can bet that anybody who comes here looking for a room goes away with a good meal and probably a few dollars in their kick.
It's just their way of digging up people to do some good to.
Well, now, isn't this nice?
Why, hello, Miss Brewster.
Hello, Mr. Brophy, Dr. Harper, Mr. Klein.
Hello, Miss Brewster. We've dropped in to get the toys for the Christmas fund.
Oh, yes, Teddy's Army and Navy. They wear out. They're all packed.
Connell's upstairs after them. It seems the cabinet has to okay it.
Yes, of course. I hope Mrs. Brophy's better.
She's doing fine, ma'am. Your sister's giving me some broth for me to take to her.
Oh, yes, we made some this morning. I just took some to a poor man who broke ever so many bones. Oh, Martha, you're back. How is Mr. Beninsky? Oh, it's pretty serious, I'm afraid, dear. The doctor was there. He's going to amputate in the morning. Can we be present? No. I asked him, but he says it's against the rules of the hospital.
Oh, you couldn't be of any service, and you must hurt yourself something.
Here's the broth, Mr. Brophy. Be sure it's getting hot.
Yes, ma'am.
This is fine. It'll make a lot of kids happy. That O'Malley boy is nuts about soldiering.
That's General Miles. I retired him. What's this? The organ?
Now, Teddy, dear, put it back.
But the organ goes to Australia.
Now, Teddy.
No, Aunt Abby. I've given my word to Fighting Bob Evans.
What, Teddy?
What's the difference what kid gets it? Bobby Evans? Izzy Cohen? Anyways, we'll run along, man. And thank you very much.
Not at all. Goodbye.
I'd better be going home as well.
Before you go,
Just the blockhouse!
The blockhouse.
the stairs are always in one hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no. He's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt. Once, a long time ago, remember, Martha? We thought if he could be George Washington, it might be a change for him. But he stayed under his bed for days and just wouldn't be anybody. And we'd much rather him be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody.
Well, if he's happy, and what's more important, you're happy, you'll see he signs these.
What are they? Dr. Harper's made all arrangements for Teddy to go to Happydale Sanitarium after we pass on. But why should Teddy sign any papers now?
It's better to have it all settled. If the Lord should take you away suddenly, we perhaps couldn't persuade Teddy to commit himself, and that would mean an unpleasant legal procedure. Mr. Witherspoon understands they're to be filed away until the time comes to use them.
Mr. Witherspoon? Who's he?
He's the superintendent of Happydale Sanitarium.
Dr. Harper has arranged for him to come in tomorrow or the day after to meet Teddy.
Well, I'd better be running along, or Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Give our love to Elaine, and Dr. Harper, please don't think harshly of Mortimer because he's a dramatic critic. Somebody has to do those things. Oh, did you just have tea? Isn't it rather late? Yes, and dinner's going to be late too. So why? Teddy! Good news for you. You're going to Panama and take another lock for the canal.
Delighted. That's bully. Just bully. I shall prepare at once for the journey. Shoot!
Oh, Abby, the light was out. Oh, I just couldn't wait for you. I didn't know when you'd be back and Dr. Harper was coming. But all by yourself? Oh, I got along fine. Well, I went right downstairs and see. Oh, no, there was a time and I was all alone. Well, Martha, just look in the window seat.
afternoon, Miss Martha. I thought Father was
He
here.
just this minute left. Didn't you meet him?
No, I took the shortcut through the cemetery. Mortimer hasn't come yet?
Not yet.
Oh, he asked me to meet him here. Do you mind if I wait?
Not at all.
Why don't you sit down?
But we really must speak to Mortimer about doing this to you.
Doing what?
Well, he was brought up to know better. When a gentleman is taking a young lady out, he should call for her at her house.
Oh, there's something about calling for a girl at a parsonage that discourages any man who doesn't embroider.
He's done this too often. We're going to speak to him.
Oh, please don't. After young men whose idea of a nightlife was to take me to prayer meetings. It's wonderful to go to the theater almost every night of my life.
Well, it's comforting for us too, because if Mortimer has to see some of those plays he has to see, well, at least he's sitting next to a minister's daughter.
My goodness, Elaine, what must you think of us not having tea cleared away?
Now, don't do anything in the kitchen until Mortimer comes, and then I'll help you. He should be here any moment, dear.
Yes. Father must have been surprised not to find me at home. I'd better run to say goodnight to him.
It's a shame you missed him, dear.
If Mortimer comes, you tell him I'll be right back. Hello, Mort.
Hello, Elaine. Hello, Aunt Martha.
Hello, Abby, Mortimer's here.
Are you going out somewhere?
I was just going to speak to Father.
I didn't know that was still being done, even in Brooklyn.
Hello, Mortimer.
Hello, Aunt Abby.
How are you, dear?
All right, and you look well. You haven't changed much since yesterday.
My goodness, it was yesterday, wasn't it? We're seeing a great deal of you lately. Well, come, sit down, sit down. Oh, Abby, haven't we something to do in the kitchen? Huh? You know, the tea things?
Oh, yes, the tea things. Well, you two just make yourselves at home. Just
Make yourselves at home.
Well, can't you take a hint?
No, that was pretty obvious. A lack of inventiveness, I should say.
Yes, that's exactly what you would say.
Where do you want to go for dinner?
I don't care. I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose we wait until after the show.
But that'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Not with that little stinker we're seeing tonight. From what I've heard, we'll be at Blake's by 10 o'clock.
You ought to be fair to these plays.
Are these plays fair to me?
I've never seen you walk out on a musical.
Well, that musical isn't opening tonight.
No?
Darling, you'll have to learn the rules. With musicals, there are always 4 postponements and 3 changes of title. They liked it in New Haven, but it needs a lot of work.
Oh, I was hoping it was a musical.
You have such a light mind.
Not a bit. Musicals somehow have a humanizing effect on you. After a serious play, we join the commoners in the subway, and I listen to a lecture on the drama. After a musical, you bring me home in a taxi, and you make a few passes.
Now, darling, that is a very inaccurate piece of reporting.
Oh, I will admit that after the Behrman play, you told me I had authentic beauty, and that's a heck of a thing to say to a girl. It wasn't until after our first musical you told me I had nice legs. And I have too.
For a minister's daughter, you know a lot about life. Where'd you learn it?
In the choir loft. Religion never gets as high as the choir loft. Which reminds me, I'd better run to speak to Father.
I've never been able to rationalize it.
What?
My falling in love with the girl who lives in Brooklyn.
Falling in love? You're not stooping to that level, are you?
The only way I can gain my self-respect is if I keep you in New York.
Did you say keep?
No. I've come to the conclusion that you're holding out for the legalities.
I can afford to be a good girl for quite a few years yet.
And I can't wait that long. Where could we be married? Say tonight.
I'm afraid Father will insist on officiating.
Oh, God. I bet your father can make even the marriage service sound pedestrian.
Are you by chance writing a review on it?
Forgive me, darling. It's an occupational disease. I just might give that play a good review tonight.
Now, darling, don't pretend you love me that much.
Be sure to tell your father not to wait up tonight.
I think tonight I'd better tell him to wait up.
All right, everything formal and legal, but nothing later than next month.
Oh, darling, I'll talk it over with Father and set a date.
No, we'll have to discuss things first. There will be a lot of other opening nights in October.
Hello, Mortimer!
How are you, Mr. President?
Bully, thank you, just bully. What news have you brought me?
Just this, Mr. President. The country is squarely behind you.
Yes, I know. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye. Goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama!
Panama's the cellar. He digs locks for the canal down there.
You're so sweet to him, and he's very fond of you.
Well, Teddy was always my favorite brother.
Favorite? Were there more of you?
Yes, there's another brother, Jonathan.
I've never heard of him. Your aunts never mentioned him.
No, we don't like to talk about Jonathan. He left Brooklyn very early, by request. You see, Jonathan was the kind of boy that liked to cut worms into with his teeth.
What became of him?
I don't know. He wanted to become a surgeon like grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school and his practice got him into trouble.
Aren't you two going to be late for the theater?
We're skipping dinner. We won't have to start for half an hour.
Oh, well, then I'll leave you two alone together again.
Oh, don't bother, darling. I was just going to speak to Father. Before I go out with you, he likes to pray over me a little.
Well, if the prayer isn't too long, I'll have time to lead you beside distilled waters.
Mortimer, that's the first time I've ever heard you quote the Bible. We knew Elaine would be a good influence for you.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to marry her.
What? Oh, darling! Martha, Martha, come in here! I've got the most wonderful news for you. Mortimer and Elaine are going to be married. Married? Oh, Mortimer! We always hoped it would happen just like this. Well, Elaine must be the happiest girl in the world.
Happy. Just look at her, leaping over those gravestones. Say, what's that?
What's what, dear?
See that statue there? That's a horn of the Nita Carmina.
Oh, no, dear, that's just Emma B. Stout ascending to heaven.
Oh no, standing on Mrs. Stout's left ear. That bird. That's a red-crested swallow. I've only seen one of those before in my life.
I don't know how you could be thinking about a bird now. What with Elaine and the engagement and everything.
Oh, it's a vanishing species. Thoreau was very fond of them. That reminds me, I left a large envelope here last week. It was one of my chapters on my book on Thoreau. Have any of you seen it?
Well, if you left it here, it must be here somewhere. What are your plans? When are you going to be married? There must be something more you could tell us about Elaine.
Elaine, oh yes, Elaine thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, when Elaine comes back, I think we ought to have a little celebration. We must drink to your happiness. Martha, isn't there some more that Lady Baltimore cake left? Oh, yes. And I'll open a bottle of wine. Oh, and to think it happened in this room.
Now, where could I have put that?
Well, with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight, I do hope the play can be something you can enjoy for once. Maybe it'll be something romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh, dear.
When the curtain rises, the first thing you'll see will be a dead body. Aunt Abby!
Yes, dear, what is it?
You were going to make plans for Teddy to go to that sanitarium, Happydale.
Yes, Dr. Harper was here today and brought the papers for Teddy to sign. Here they are.
He's got to sign them right away.
That's what Dr. Harper thinks. That way there won't be any legal difficulties after we pass on.
Teddy's down in the cellar. Get him up here now.
Well, there's no such hurry as that. No, when Teddy starts to work on the canal, you can't get his mind on anything else.
Teddy's got to go to Happydale now, tonight.
Oh, no, dear, that's not until after we're gone.
Right away, I tell you, right away.
Why, Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? Why, as long as we live, we'll never be separated from Teddy.
Darlings, I'm frightfully sorry, but I'm afraid we're going to have to try and keep our heads on this one. You know, we've sort of humored Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Why, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he has to go to Happydale, why he has to be confined.
Mortimer, why have you suddenly turned against Teddy? Your own brother.
You all have got to know sometime. It might as well be now. Teddy's killed a man!
Oh, nonsense, dear.
There's a body in the window seat!
Yes, dear, we know.
You know.
Yes, of course, but it has nothing to do with Teddy. Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. Forget you ever saw the gentleman.
Forget?
We never dream you peek.
But who is he?
His name's Mr. Hoskins. Adam Hoskins. That's all I really know about him, except that he's a Methodist.
That's all you know about him? Well, what's he doing in there? What happened to him?
He died?
Aunt Martha, men don't just get into window seats and die.
No, he died first.
Well, how?
Oh, Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
How did the poison get in the wine?
Well, we put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
You put it in the wine?
Yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat because Dr. Harper was coming.
So you knew what you'd done. You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, not at tea. That wouldn't have been very nice. Now, Mortimer, just forget about it. I do think Martha and I have our own rights to our own little secrets. And don't you tell Elaine. Oh, Abby, while I was out, I dropped in on Mrs. Schultz. She's much better now, but she would like us to take Junior to the movies again.
Well, we'll have to do that tomorrow or the next day.
Yes, but we'll go where we want to. Junior's not going to drag you into another one of those scary pictures.
Hello, Al. Do you know who this is? That's right. Say, Al, when I left the office, I told you where I was going, remember? Well, where did I say? Well, it would take me about half an hour to get to Brooklyn. What time have you got? That's right. I must be here. Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, come in here. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
There's a body in there.
Yes, Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, good heavens, I can't turn you over to the police, but what are we going to do?
Well, for one thing, dear, stop being so excited. And for pity's sake, stop worrying. We told you to forget about it.
Abby, can't I make you realize that something has to be done?
Mortimer, you're too old to be flying off the handle like
But
this.
Mr. Hodgkins...
Hoskins, dear.
Well, whatever his name is, you can't just leave him in there.
Oh, we don't intend to, dear. No, Teddy's down in the cellar digging the lock right now.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Oh, yes, dear, that's what we did with the others.
No, you can't bury Mr. Others?
The other gentlemen.
When you say others, do you mean others, more than one others?
Oh, yes, dear, let me see. This is 11, isn't it, Abby? No, this makes 12. Oh, I think you're wrong, Abby. This is only 11. No, because whenever Mr. Hoskins first came in here, it occurred to me that he would just make an even dozen. Well, you really shouldn't count the first one. Well, I was counting the first one, so that makes 12.
Hello? Oh, Al, my, it's good to hear your
Well,
voice.
anyway, they're all down in the cellar.
Oh, no, Al, I'm sober as a lark. I was just calling you because I'm feeling a little Pirandello. Aaron, you wouldn't know. Say, Al, get a hold of George. He's got to cover the play tonight. I can't make it. No, Al, you're wrong. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. This is my department, and I am running it. Get a hold of George. Now, let's see. Where were we? 12!
Yes, Abby thinks we ought to count the first one, and that makes 12.
Right, now, who was the first one?
His name was Mr. Midgley. He was a Baptist. Of course, I still think we can't claim full credit for him because he had just died. Well, what Martha means is without any help from us. You see, Mr. Midgley came here looking for a room. It was right after you moved to New York, and there was no sense for that lovely room to be going to waste when there were so many people who needed it. He was such a lonely old man. Oh, his kith and kin were dead, and that left him forlorn and unhappy. We felt so sorry for him. Yes, and when his heart attack came, and he sat dead in this very chair, looking so peaceful. Remember, Martha, we made up our minds then and there if we could help other lonely old men to that same peace we would.
So he died right in that chair. How awful for you.
Oh, no, dear. It was rather like old times. You remember your grandfather used to have a cadaver or two around the house. You see, Teddy had been digging a Panama, and we told him to put Mr. Midgley in there because he thought he was a yellow fever victim, which means he had to be buried immediately. So we all took him down to Panama and buried him in the log. That's why we told you not to worry about it, because we know exactly what's to be done.
So that's how all of this started. That man walking in here and dropping dead.
Well, of course, we couldn't depend on that happening every time, so... Well, you remember those jars of poison that have been upon the shelves in Grandfather's laboratory all these years? And you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. You've eaten enough of her pickle, Lily. Well, for 1 gallon of elderberry wine, I take 1 teaspoon of arsenic, then half a teaspoon of strychnine, and then just a pinch of cyanide.
Should have quite a kick.
Yes, one of our gentlemen found time to say, "How delicious!" Well, I better get things started in the kitchen. I wish you could stay for dinner. I'm trying out a new recipe.
I couldn't eat a thing.
Oh, I feel so much better now. Oh, you have to wait for Elaine, don't you? How happy you must be. Well, I'll leave you alone with your thoughts.
Oh, it's you.
Don't be cross, darling. Father could see that I was excited, so I told him about us, and that made it hard for me to get away. But listen, darling, he's not going up for me tonight.
You run along home, Elaine, and I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
You know I always call you up every day or two.
But we're going to the theater tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, why not?
Something's come up.
What, darling? Mortimer, you've lost your job?
No, I haven't lost my job. It's just I'm not covering that play tonight. Now you run along home.
But I've got to know what's happened. Certainly you can tell me.
No, dear, I can't.
But if we're going to be married,
Married?
have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yes, well, as far as I know, that's still on. Now you run along home, Elaine. I've got to do something.
Listen, you can't propose to me 1 minute and throw me out of the house the next.
I'm not throwing you out of the house, darling. Will you please get out of here?
No, I won't get out of here. Not until I've had some kind of explanation.
Elaine! Hello? Oh, hello, Al. All right, it's important. It can wait a minute, can it? You hold on a minute. Look, Elaine, you're a sweet girl, and I love you, but I have something on my mind right now, and I want you to run home and wait until I call you.
Don't try to be masterful.
When we're married and I have problems to face, I hope you're less tedious and uninspired.
And when we're married, if we're married, I hope to find you adequate.
Elaine! Hello? Al. Hello? Al?
That's the doorbell, dear, not the telephone. How do you do? Come in.
I understand you have a room to rent.
Yes, won't you step in?
Are you the lady of this house?
Yes, I'm Miss Brewster, and this is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name is Gibbs.
Oh, well, we were just setting the table for dinner. Why don't you come sit down?
Hello, City Desk. Let me talk to Al again. Al! City Desk! What? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong number.
May I see the room?
Oh, why don't you sit down a minute and let's get acquainted?
That won't do me much good if I don't like the room.
Is Brooklyn your home?
Haven't got a home. Live in a hotel. Don't like it.
Hello, City Desk.
Are your family Brooklyn people?
Haven't got any family.
All alone in the world?
Yep.
Well, Martha, you've come to just the right house. Do sit down.
Hello, Al. Mort. We got cut off. Al, I can't cover the play tonight. That's all there is to it. I can't.
What church do you go to? There's an Episcopal church practically next door.
I'm Presbyterian. Well, used to be.
What's George doing in Bermuda? Well, certainly I told him he could go to Bermuda. This is my department, isn't it? Well, there must be somebody around the office. You get a hold of someone.
Is there always this much noise?
Oh, he doesn't live with us.
Look, Al, how about that office boy? Yeah, the one we don't like. Well, you look around the office and I'll hold on.
I'd really like to see the room.
It's upstairs, but won't you try a glass of our wine before we start up?
Never touch it.
Oh, it's elderberry wine. We make it ourselves.
Well, elderberry wine. Having tasted elderberry wine since I was a boy. Thank you.
Well, there must be some printers around the place. Look, Al, the fellow who sets my copy, he ought to know about what I'd write. His name's Joe. He's the third machine from the left. But Al, he could turn out to be another Burns Mantle.
Do you have your own elderberry bushes?
Oh no, but the cemetery's full of them.
No, I am not drinking. I'm going to start now.
Do you serve meals?
We might, but first you see whether you like our wine. Mortimer? Mortimer, not that!
Ah! I don't know how to explain this to you. It's not only against the law, it's wrong. It's not a very nice thing to do. People wouldn't understand. He wouldn't understand.
Abby, we shouldn't have told Mortimer.
What I mean is, well, this has developed into a very bad habit.
Mortimer, we don't stop you from doing things that you like to do, so I don't think you should interfere with us.
Hello? All right, Al, I'll see the first act and I'll pen the heck out of it. But Al, you've got to do something for me. Get hold of O'Brien, our lawyer, the head of our legal department. Okay, have him meet me at the theater. Okay, I'm starting now. Don't let me down. I've got to get to the theater. I can't get out of it. But before I go, will you please promise me something?
Well, we have to know what it was first.
I love you very much, and I know you love me. You know I would do anything in the world for you, and I want you to do just this little thing for me.
Well, what is it?
Don't do anything. I mean, don't do anything. Don't let anyone in this house and leave Mr. Hoskins where he is.
Why?
I want time to think, and I've got quite a lot to think about. You know I wouldn't want anything to happen to you.
Well, what on earth can happen to us?
Anyway, you'll do this for me, won't you?
Well, we were planning on holding services before dinner.
Services!
Why, certainly. You don't think we'd hold a full Methodist service for Mr. Hoskins, don't you? Why, he was a Methodist.
And wait until I get back.
Oh, then you could join us.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Mortimer, you'll enjoy the services, especially the hymns. Martha, remember how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
And remember, you're not going to let anyone in this house while I'm gone. It's a promise.
Well, Martha, now that Mortimer's cooperating with us. All right, Mortimer.
Have you got some paper? I'll get back just as soon as I can. There's a man I've got to see.
Here's some stationery. Will this do?
That'll be fine. I can save time if I write my review on the way to the theater.
Mortimer wasn't quite himself today. Well, that's only natural. I think I know why. Why? He's just become engaged to be married. I suppose it always makes a man nervous. Well, I'm so happy for Elaine. She must be the happiest girl in the world. This ought to give Mortimer a real vacation. He didn't get much rest this summer. Well, at least he didn't go kiting off to China or Spain. I could never understand why he wanted to go to those places. I think to Mortimer, the theaters always seem pretty small potatoes. He needs something big to criticize, something like the human race. Oh, Abby, if Mortimer's coming back for the funeral services for Mr. Hoskins, we'll need another hymnal. There's one in my room. You know, it's really my turn to read for the services, but since you weren't here when Mr. Hoskins came, you can do it. Oh, that's very nice of you, dear, but are you sure? Well, it's only fair. Well, I'll think I'll wear my black bombazine and mother's old brooch. I'll go, dear. Oh, no, we promised Mortimer we wouldn't let anyone in. Well, who do you suppose it is? Wait a minute, I'll look. It's two men and I've never seen them before. Are you sure? There's a car at the curb. They must have come in that. Let me see. Do you recognize them? No, they're strangers to me. Well, we'll just have to pretend we're not at home.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth. As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this house. Now I'm glad to escape back into it.
Yeah, Johnny. It is a fine hideout.
Family must still live here. There's something so unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf waiting the return of the prodigal.
Oh, yeah. I'm hungry. Look, Johnny, drinks!
And so we were expected. A good omen.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Why? Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha. It's Jonathan.
You get out of here!
I'm Jonathan, your nephew, Jonathan.
Oh, no, you're not. You're nothing like Jonathan, so don't pretend you are. Just get out of here!
I am Jonathan. And this is Dr. Einstein.
And he's not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
No, you're not Jonathan. Just get out of here.
Aunt Abby, I see you're still wearing the lovely garnet ring that Grandma Brewster bought in England. And you, Aunt Martha, still the high collar to hide the scars where Grandfather's acid burns you.
His voice is like Jonathan's. Have you been in an accident?
No, my face. Dr. Einstein is responsible for that. He's a plastic surgeon. He changes people's faces.
But Abby, I've seen that face before. Do you remember when we took the little Schultz boy out to the movies and I was so frightened? It's that face.
Oh, easy, Johnny, easy. Oh, don't worry, ladies. The last 5 years, I gave Johnny 3 new faces. And I gave him another one right away. This last face, well, I saw that movie too just before I operate. And I was half asleep.
You see, Doctor, you see what you've done to me. Even my own family.
Johnny, you're home. In this lovely house. often he tells me about Brooklyn, about this house, about this house that he loves so much. Why, they know you, Johnny. You know us, Jonathan. Speak to him. Tell him so.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a long time. Yes, Jonathan, where have you been?
Oh, England, South Africa, Australia. The last 5 years, Chicago. Dr. Einstein and I were in business in Chicago together.
Oh, well, we were in Chicago for the World's Fair. Oh, yes, we found Chicago awfully warm.
Oh, yeah. It got hot for us, too.
Well, aunties, it's great to be in Brooklyn again. And you two don't look a day older. Just as I remembered you. Sweet, charming, hospitable. And dear Teddy, did he ever get into politics? My little brother, Doctor, he was determined to become the president.
Oh, Teddy's fine, just fine, and Mortimer's well, too.
I know all about Mortimer. I've seen his picture at the head of his column. He's evidently fulfilled all the promise of his early nasty nature.
We're very fond of Mortimer. Well, Jonathan, it's very nice to have seen you again.
Bless you, Aunt Martha. It's good to be home again.
Well, Martha, we shouldn't let what's in the stove boil over. Yes, if you'll excuse us for a moment, Jonathan, unless you're in a hurry to go somewhere.
Well, where do we go from here now, Johnny? We have got to think fast. The police, they've got pictures of that face. I've got to operate on you right away. And we do have to find a place for Mr. Spinozzo.
Don't waste any worry on that rat.
Oh, but Johnny, we have got a hot stiff on our hands.
Forget Mr. Spinozzo.
Oh, but you can't leave a dead body in the trunk of the car. Oh, Johnny, you shouldn't have killed him. He's a nice fellow. He gives us a lift, and what happened?
He said I looked like Norman Bates. That's your work, Doctor. You did that to me.
Now, Johnny, we find a place somewhere, and I fix you up quick.
Tonight.
Oh, but Johnny, I'm hungry and I'm weak. I'm going to eat
well,
first.
Jonathan, we're glad that you took the trouble to come in and say hello, but you were never happy in this house, and we were never happy with you in it. So we've just come to say goodbye.
Aunt Abby, I can't say that your feeling towards me comes as any surprise. I've spent a great many years regretting the heartaches I must have given you as a boy.
You were quite a trial to us, Jonathan.
But my greatest disappointment is for Dr. Einstein. I promised him that no matter how rushed we were in passing through Brooklyn, that I would bring him here for one of Aunt Martha's home-cooked dinners.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm afraid there wouldn't be enough. Well, Abby, it's a pretty good-sized pot roast.
Pot roast?
Well, I think the least we can do is to...
Thank you, Aunt Martha. We'll stay to dinner.
Well, we better go hurried along then. Yes. Oh, Jonathan, if you want to freshen up, you can use the washroom in Grandmother's old laboratory.
Is that still there?
Oh, yes, just as he left it. Well, I'll leave you two alone since we're all in a hurry.
Well, we get a meal anyway.
Grandfather's laboratory. And just as it was, Doctor, a perfect operating room.
Too bad we can't use it.
When you finish with me, why, we can make a fortune here. The laboratory, the large ward in the attic, 10 beds, Doctor. And Brooklyn is crying for your talents.
Why work yourself up, Johnny? Anyway, for Brooklyn, I think we are a year too late.
You don't know this town, Doctor. Practically everybody in Brooklyn could use a new face.
But so many of the old faces are locked up.
A very small percentage. And the boys in Brooklyn are famous for paying generously to stay out of jail.
Take it easy, Johnny. Your aunts, they don't want us here.
We're here for dinner, aren't we?
Yes, but after dinner...
Leave it to me, Doctor. I'll handle it. Why, this house could be our headquarters for years.
Oh, that would be a pretty picture, Johnny. This lovely house, those aunts of yours. Oh, what sweet ladies. I love them already. I get the bags, yeah?
Doctor, we must wait until we're invited.
Oh, but you just said that...
We'll be invited.
And if they say no?
Doctor, 2 helpless old women.
It's like comes true, a beautiful dream. Only I hope you're not dreaming. It's so peaceful here.
That's what makes this house so perfect for us. It's so peaceful. Yes, aunties, those last 5 years in Chicago were amongst the busiest and happiest years of my life.
And then from Chicago, we go to South Bend, Indiana.
They wouldn't be interested in our experience in Indiana.
Well, Jonathan, you've led a very interesting life, but I don't think we should have allowed you to talk this late.
My meeting Dr. Einstein in London, I might say, changed the whole course of my life. You remember I had been in South Africa in the diamond business, and then I went to Amsterdam in the diamond market. I wanted to go back to South Africa, and Dr. Einstein made it possible for me.
A good job, Johnny. When we take off the bandages, his face looks so different. The nurse had you introduce me.
I loved that face. I still carry the picture with me.
This looks more the way you used to look, but I still wouldn't recognize you.
I think we'll go back to that face, Doctor.
Yeah, it's safe now.
Well, we ought to let you two get to where you're going.
Oh, my dear aunt, I'm so full of that delicious dinner I'm unable to move a muscle.
Oh, yeah. It's nice here.
Well, after all, it's...
I found it! I found it!
What did you find, Teddy?
The story of my life. My biography. Here's the picture I was telling you about, General. The two of us at Culebra Cut. That's me, General. And that's you.
My, how I've changed.
Well, you see, that picture hasn't been taken yet. We haven't even started work on Culebra Cut. We're still digging locks in the canal. And now, you come with me and inspect the new one.
No, Teddy, not to Panama.
We go to Panama some other time. It's a long way off.
Nonsense. It's just down in the cellar.
The cellar?
Oh, we let him dig the Panama Canal in the cellar.
General Goethals, as President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, and the man that gave you this job, I demand that you come with me on the inspection of the new lock.
Teddy, I think it's time you went to bed.
I beg your pardon. Who are you?
I'm Woodrow Wilson. Go to bed.
No, you're not Wilson, but your face is familiar. I don't know you now, but perhaps later. On my hunting trip to Africa. Yeah, you look like someone I would meet in a jungle.
It's your brother Jonathan, dear. He's had his face changed.
So that's it? A nature faker?
And perhaps you better go to bed. Jonathan and his friend have to get back to their hotel.
General Goethals, inspect the canal.
Well, we go to Panama.
Bully, follow me, General.
Well, bon voyage.
Aunt Abby, I must correct your misapprehension. You spoke of our hotel. We have no hotel. We came directly here.
Well, there's a very nice little hotel just 3 blocks
Aunt
down...
Martha, this is my home.
No, Jonathan, I'm afraid you can't stay here. We need our rooms.
You need them?
Yes, for our lodgers.
Are there lodgers in this house?
Well, not now, but we plan on to have some.
Then my old room is still free.
But there's no place for Dr. Einstein.
He'll share the room with me.
No, Jonathan, I'm afraid you can't stay here.
Aunt Abby, you remember this afternoon that as a boy I could be disagreeable. It wouldn't be very pleasant for any of us if...
Well, I better think we'd let them stay here tonight.
That's settled. Now, if you'll get our room ready...
It only needs airing out. I think you and Dr. Einstein will find it quite comfortable. We keep it ready to show our lodgers.
You have a most distinguished guest in Dr. Einstein. I'm afraid you don't appreciate his skill, but you will. In a few weeks' time, you'll see me looking like a very different Jonathan.
He can't operate on you here.
When Dr. Einstein and I get organized, when we resume practice... Oh, I forgot to tell you, we're turning Grandfather's laboratory into an operating room, and we expect to be quite busy.
Jonathan, we will not let you turn this house into a hospital.
A hospital? Heavens no. It would be a beauty parlor.
Johnny, damn it, Sam.
Dr. Einstein, my dear aunts have invited us to live with them.
Oh, you fix it.
Well, only for tonight.
Please get our room ready immediately.
For tonight.
When I go down into the cellar, what do you think I find?
What?
The Panama Canal!
The Panama Canal.
It's a hole, Teddy Dog. It just fits Mr. Spinozzo. 6 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Down there.
You think they knew we were bringing Spinozzo all along. Now that's hospitality.
Rather a good joke on my aunt. They're living in a house with a body buried in their cellar.
How do we get him in?
Yes, we can't just walk him in through the door. We'll bring the car in between the house and the cemetery, and then when they've gone to bed, we'll bring him in through the window.
Bed! Just think, we've got a bed tonight.
Easy, Doctor. Remember, you're operating tomorrow, and this time you'd better be awake.
Johnny, I fix you up beautiful.
And if you don't,
Jonathan, your room's ready.
then you two can go to bed. We're bringing the car up behind the house.
Oh, well, it's all right where it is until morning.
I don't want to leave it in the street. That might be against the law.
Oh, Abby, what are we going to do? Well, for one thing, we're not going to let them stay in this house for more than one night. What would the neighbors think? People coming in here with one face and coming out with another? What about Mr. Hoskins? Oh, Mr. Hoskins. It can't be very comfortable for him in there, poor dear. We ought to have Teddy get him down to the canal right away. Abby, I will not invite Jonathan to the funeral services. Oh, no, we'll wait till him and Dr. Einstein have gone to bed. Then come up and hold the services.
General Goethals was very pleased. He says the canal is just the right size.
Teddy, there's been another yellow fever victim.
Dear me, this will be a shock to the general.
Oh, then we mustn't tell him about it.
But it's his department.
Now, Teddy, it would just spoil his visit.
I'm sorry, Aunt Abby. It's out of my hands. Army regulations, you know.
No, Teddy, we must keep it a secret.
A state secret?
Yes, a state secret. Promise?
You have the word of the President of the United States. Cross my heart and hope to die. Now, how are we going to keep this a secret?
Well, you go down to the cellar, and when I turn out the lights, when it's all dark, you come up and take the poor man down to the canal. Now, go along, Teddy. And we'll come down later and hold services.
You may announce the President will say a few words. Where is this poor devil?
He's in the window seat.
It seems to be spreading. We've never had yellow fever there before.
Martha, when Jonathan and Dr. Einstein come back, let's see if we can get them to go to bed right away. Yes, and by the time they're asleep, we'll be ready for the funeral. Abby, I've never even seen Mr. Hoskins. My goodness, that's right, you were out. Well, you just come right over here and see. He's very handsome considering he's a Methodist.
Oh, we're bringing the luggage through here.
Jonathan, your room's ready. You and Dr. Einstein can go up.
I'm afraid we don't keep Brooklyn hours, but you two can run along to bed.
Now, you both must be very tired, and besides, we don't go to bed this early.
Well, you should. It's time I've come home to take care of you two.
Well, we weren't planning to go until...
Aunt Martha, did you hear me say go to bed? The instruments can go to the laboratory in the morning, Doctor. Now then, we're all going to bed.
I'll wait till you're up, then I'll turn out the lights.
2 flights, Doctor. Burn along, Aunt Martha. All right, Aunt Abby.
I'll wait till you're up.
Now, Aunt Abby, turn out the lights.
All right, Johnny.
Okay, Doctor. I'll get the window open. You go around and hand him through.
What? No. He's too heavy for me. You pull the car around and push him in, and I help him pull. Then together, we will get him down to Panama.
All right. I'll take a look around outside the house. When I step on the glass, you open the window.
You leave this open, of course. Johnny? Is that you? Oh. You're not there. Oh, you're shooting. Shh. It's okay, Johnny. I dropped him.
Be more careful.
All right, Johnny. I got him. Johnny! Johnny's the door!
Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Who is it? Is that you, Teddy? Teddy? Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Elaine Harper. I live next door.
Then what are you doing here?
I came over to see Miss Abby and Miss Martha.
Turn on the lights, Doctor. You chose rather an untimely moment for a social call.
I think you better explain what you're doing here.
We happen to live here.
You don't live here. I'm in this house every day and I've never seen you before. Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha? What have you done to them?
Perhaps we'd better introduce ourselves. This is Dr. Einstein,
Dr. Einstein?
a surgeon of great distinction and something of a magician.
And I suppose you're going to tell me you're Norman Bates.
I'm Jonathan Brewster.
Oh, you're Jonathan?
I see you've heard of me.
Yes, just this afternoon for the first time.
And what did they say about me?
Only that there was another brother named Jonathan. That's all that was said. Well, that explains everything. Now that I know who you are, I'll be running along. If you'll kindly unlock the door.
That explains everything. Just what do you mean by that? What are you doing here at this time of night?
I thought I saw someone prowling around the house.
You saw someone outside the house?
Yes? Weren't you outside? Isn't that your car?
You saw someone at the car?
Yes?
What else did you see?
Just someone walking around the house with the car.
What else did you see?
Just that! That's all! That's why I came over here. I wanted to tell Miss Abby to call the police. But if that was you and that's your car, I don't need to bother Miss Abby. I'll be running along.
What was the man doing at the car?
I don't know! You see, I was on my way over here.
I think you're lying.
I think she tells the truth, huh? We let her go now, eh?
I think she's lying. Breaking into a house at this time of night. I think she's dangerous. She shouldn't be allowed around loose.
Take your hands off me!
Doctor!
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy, tell this man who I am!
That's my daughter, Alice.
No, Teddy!
The cellar!
What's the matter? What's happening down there? What's the matter? What are you doing?
We caught a burglar, a sneak thief. Go back to your room.
We'll call the police.
We've called the police. We'll handle this. Go back to your room. Do you hear me?
Where have you been?
The J.R. Dakin Theater, and I should have known better. Oh my God, I'm still there.
It's your brother Jonathan, dear.
I know this isn't a nightmare, but what is it?
I've come back home, Mortimer.
Who did you say this was again?
It's your brother Jonathan. He's had his face changed, and Dr. Einstein performed the operation.
Jonathan, you always were a terror. Do you have to look like one, too?
Easy, Johnny, easy.
Mortimer, have you forgotten the things I used to do to you when we were boys? Remember the time we were tied to the bedpost? The needles under your fingernails?
Oh my God, it is Jonathan. Yes, I remember. I remember you as the most detestable, vicious, venomous form of animal life I ever knew.
Now don't you two boys start quarreling the minute you've seen each other.
There won't be any fight, Aunt Abby. Jonathan, you're not welcome here. Get out.
Dr. Einstein and I have been invited to stay.
Not in this house.
for tonight.
I don't want him anywhere near me.
Well, we did invite them to stay here tonight, and it wouldn't be very nice if we went back on our word.
All right, tonight. But first thing in the morning, out. Where are they sleeping?
In Jonathan's old room.
It's my old room. I'm sleeping in that room. I'm here to stay.
Oh, Mortimer, I'm so glad.
Johnny, we sleep down here tonight.
You bet your life you sleep down here.
You sleep on the couch, and I sleep on the window seat.
The window seat. Oh, well, let's not argue about it. That window seat's good enough for me. I'll sleep on the window seat.
You know, Johnny, all of this argument makes me think of Mr. Spinozzo.
Spinozzo. Well, now, Mortimer, it really isn't necessary for us to inconvenience you like this. We'll sleep down here.
Jonathan, your sudden consideration for me is very unconvincing.
Come along, Johnny. Let's get our things out of the room, eh?
Don't bother, Doctor.
By the way, Doctor, I've completely lost track of our friend, Mr. Spinozzo.
Who's this Mr. Spinozzo?
Just a friend of ours Johnny's been looking for?
Oh, don't bring anyone else in here.
Come along, Johnny. We'll be back. I tell you all about it.
Mortimer, so you don't have to sleep down here. I can go in with Martha, and you can take my room.
Oh, don't bother, Aunt Abby. Dr. Einstein and I will be out of the room in just a few minutes, and then you can have the room, Mortimer.
You're just wasting your time. I told you I'm sleeping down here.
Mortimer!
What's the matter with you, dear?
I've almost been killed!
You've almost been... Abby! Martha!
Oh, it was Jonathan! He mistook her for a sneak thief.
No, it was more than that. He's some kind of maniac. Mortimer, I'm afraid.
My darling, you're trembling. Have you got any smelling salts?
No, but do you think some hot tea or coffee?
Coffee. Make some for me, too. And some sandwiches. I haven't had any dinner.
We'll make something for the both of you. Martha, we can leave our gloves down here now.
You are going out somewhere. Do you know what time it is? It's after 12. 12! Elaine, you've got to run home!
What? Why, you wanted some sandwiches. It won't take a minute. Why don't you remember we wanted to celebrate your engagement? That's what we'll do, dear. We'll make a nice supper for the both of you and open a bottle of wine.
All right. No wine!
Mortimer, what is going on in this house?
What do you mean, what's going on in this house?
You were supposed to take me to dinner and the theater tonight. You called it off. You asked me to marry you. I said I would, and 5 minutes later, you threw me out of the house. Tonight, just after your brother tries to strangle me, you want to chase me home? Now listen, Mr. Brewster. Before I go home, I want to know where I stand. Do you love me?
Elaine, I love you very much. In fact, I love you so much that I can't marry you.
Have you suddenly gone crazy?
I don't think so, but it's just a matter of time. Insanity runs in my family. It practically gallops. That's why I can't marry you, dear.
Now wait a minute. You have got to do better than that.
I'm afraid not. There seems to be a strange taint in the Brewster blood. If you really knew my family well, it's what you would expect if Stalin had written Mein Kampf.
Not just because Teddy is a
No,
little...
it goes way back. The first Brewster, the one who came over on the Mayflower. You know, in those days, the Indians used to scalp the settlers. He used to scalp the Indians.
Mortimer, that's ancient history.
No, the whole family. Take my grandfather. He tried his patent medicines out on dead people to make sure that he wouldn't kill them.
He wasn't so crazy. He made $1 million.
Then there's Jonathan. You just said he was a maniac. He tried to kill you.
But he's your brother, not you. I'm in love with you.
And then there's Teddy. You know Teddy. He thinks he's Roosevelt. No, dear. No Brewster should marry. I realize now that if I'd met my father in time, I'd have stopped him.
No, darling. All this doesn't prove you're crazy. Look at your aunts. They're Brewsters, aren't they? And the sanest, sweetest people I've ever known.
Well, even they have their peculiarities.
Yes, but what lovely peculiarities. Kindness, generosity, human sympathy.
There's another one!
Oh, Mortimer, there are plenty of others. You can't tell me one thing about your aunts.
I'm not going to. Elaine, you've got to run home. Something very important has just come up.
Up from where?
I know I'm acting irrationally, but just put it to the fact that I'm a mad Brewster.
If you think that you're going to get out of this by pretending you're insane, you're crazy. Maybe you're not going to marry me, but I'm going to marry you. I love you, dope.
Well, if you love me, will you get the heck out of here?
Well, at least walk me home, won't you? I'm afraid.
Afraid of a little walk through the cemetery?
Mortimer, you at least kiss me goodnight.
Of course, dear. Now you run along home. I'll call you up in a day or two.
You critic!
Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, come in here.
We'll be in a minute, dear.
Come in here now.
Yes, dear, what is it? Where's Elaine?
I thought I told you not to let anyone in this house while I was gone.
Well, Jonathan just walked in.
I'm not talking about
and
Jonathan.
Dr. Einstein was with him.
I don't mean Dr. Einstein. Who is that in the window seat?
We told you, Mr. Hoskins.
That is not Mr. Hoskins.
Well, who can that be?
Are you trying to tell me that you've never seen this gentleman before?
I certainly am. Why, this is a fine how do you do. It's getting so anybody thinks he can walk into this house.
Abby, don't you try to get out of this. That is another one of your gentlemen.
Mortimer, how can you say such a thing? That man is an imposter. And if he thinks he's going to be buried in our cellar, then he's mistaken.
Aunt Abby, you admitted to me that you put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat. By the way, where is Mr. Hoskins?
He must have gone to Panama.
So you buried him.
Well, not yet. He's down there waiting for the services. We haven't had time, what with Jonathan in this house. But we've always wanted to hold a double funeral. But I will not read services over a total stranger.
Aunt Abby, how can I believe you? There are 12 men in the cellar, and you admit that you poisoned them.
Yes, I did. But you don't think I'd stoop to telling a fib. Martha!
Oh, Mortimer, I'd like to have a word with you.
Words about all you'll have time for, Jonathan, because I've decided you and your doctor friend are going to have to get out of this house as quickly as possible.
I'm glad you recognize the fact that you and I can't live under the same roof, but you've arrived at the wrong solution. So you take your suitcase and get out.
Jonathan, you're beginning to bore me. You've had your one-night stand in Brooklyn. Move on.
Mortimer, just because you've graduated from the back fence to the typewriter, don't think you've grown up. We're staying and you're leaving, and I mean now.
If you think that I could be frightened, if you think there's anything that I fear...
I've lived a strange life, Mortimer, but it's taught me one thing. To be afraid of nothing.
Martha, look and see what's in the window seat.
Now
Aunt Abby.
Jonathan, let Aunt Martha see what's in that window seat. Aunt Abby, I owe you an apology, but I have very good news for you. Jonathan is leaving. He's taking Dr. Einstein and their cold companion with them. Jonathan, you're my brother. You're a Brewster. So I'm going to give you a chance to get just as far away and take the evidence with you. You can't ask for more than that. Very well. I guess I'll have to call the police.
Don't reach for that telephone. Are you still giving me orders after seeing what's happened to Mr. Spinalzo?
Spinalzo? I knew he was a foreigner.
Remember what happened to him can happen to you, too.
Hello, Miss Abby.
Oh, Officer O'Hara, is there something we can do for you?
Oh, I saw your lights on. Thought there might be sickness in the house. Oh, you got company. I'm sorry I disturbed
Oh,
you.
no, come right in.
Yes, come in. Right in, Officer O'Hara. This is our nephew, Mortimer.
Pleased to meet you.
And this is our other nephew, Jonathan.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. Say, it must be nice having your nephews visiting you. Are they going to be staying with you for a bit?
I'm staying. My brother Jonathan is just leaving.
I've met you here before, haven't I?
I'm afraid not. Jonathan hasn't been home in many years.
Your face looks familiar to me. Maybe I've seen a picture of you somewhere.
I don't think so.
Yes, Jonathan. I'd hurry if I were you. Your things are all packed anyway, aren't they?
Oh, you'll be wanting to say goodbyes. I'll be running along.
What's the rush? I'd like to have you stick around until my brother goes.
I just dropped in to make sure everything was all right.
We're going to have some coffee in a minute. Won't you join us?
Oh, I forgot the coffee. Well, I better make some more sandwiches. I ought to know your appetite by this time, Officer O'Hara.
Don't bother. I'm dinnering in a few minutes.
You can have a cup of coffee with us. Please sit down.
Say, ain't I seen a photograph of your brother around here someplace?
I don't think so.
He certainly reminds me of somebody.
He looks like someone you've probably seen in the movies.
I never go to the movies. I hate them. My mother says the movies is a wasted art.
Your mother said that.
Yeah, my mother was an actress, a stage actress. Maybe you heard of her? Peaches Latour?
Sounds like a name I've seen on a program. What did she play?
Well, her big hit was Mutt and Jeff. Played it for 3 years. I was born on tour, the 3rd season.
You were?
Yep, Sioux City, Iowa. I was born in the dressing room at the end of the 2nd act, and Mother made the finale.
What a trooper. I bet there's a good story in your mother. You know, I write about the theater.
You do? Say, you're not Mortimer Brewster, the dramatic critic.
Yes?
Well, I certainly am glad to meet you. Say, Mr. Brewster, we're in the same line of business.
We are.
Oh yeah, I'm a playwright.
This being on the police force thing's just temporary.
How long have you been on the force?
12 years. I'm collecting material for a play.
I'll bet it's a honey.
Well, it ought to be. With all the drama I see being a cop. Mr. Brewster, you got no idea what goes on in Brooklyn.
I think I have.
Say, what time you got?
10 after 1.
Gee, I gotta ring in.
Wait a minute, O'Hara. On that play of yours, I may be able to help you.
You would. Say, it was my fate walking in here tonight. Look, I'll tell you the plot.
Oh, you're leaving now, Jonathan. Good. You haven't got much time, you know.
Oh, you're leaving? Goodbye, Jonathan. Goodbye, Dr. Einstein. Oh, doesn't this case belong to you?
Yes, Jonathan, you can't leave without all of your things. O'Hara, it was nice meeting you. We'll get together sometime later and talk about that play of yours.
Oh, I ain't leaving now, Mr. Brewster.
Why not?
Well, you just offered to help me with my play, didn't you? You and me are going to write my play together.
I can't do that, O'Hara. I'm not a creative writer.
I'll do the creating. You just put the words to it.
But O'Hara...
No, sir, Mr. Brewster. I ain't leaving this house till I tell you the plot.
In that case, Mortimer will be running along.
Don't go. You can't try that. O'Hara, my brother is just going.
I can wait. I've been waiting 12 years.
I'm sorry I was so
Don't
dumb.
bring that in here. O'Hara, would you join us for a bite in the kitchen?
The kitchen? Jonathan's leaving. Oh, well, that's nice. Oh, come along, Officer O'Hara. Sure you don't mind to eat in the kitchen?
And where else would you eat?
Jonathan, it's nice to have seen you.
Jonathan, I'm glad you came back to Brooklyn, because it gives me a chance to finally throw you out. And the first one out is your boyfriend, Mr. Spinalzo.
Look, Mr. Brewster, we can talk in here.
Coming right out.
I might have known you'd grow up trying to play with a policewoman.
Get going now. All three of you.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and me has got to be settled.
Now, Johnny, we have got trouble enough. Your brother gives us a chance to get away. What more could you ask for?
You don't understand. That goes back a good many years.
Now, Shawnee, let's get going.
We're not going. We're staying here tonight.
What? With the carpets and kitchen and Mr. Spinozzo in the window seats?
That's all they've got on us. We'll take Mr. Spinozzo and we'll dump him in the bay, and then we'll come right back here, and if he tries to interfere...
Shawnee.
Doctor, you know when I make up my mind.
Oh, yes, but you make up your mind, you lose your head. Brooklyn is not a good place for you.
Doctor.
Okay. We have got to stick together. Johnny, next time we go somewhere, do we have to take these with us?
No, we can hide them here. Hide them in the cellar. Move fast. Spinozzo can go out the same way he came in.
Psst. Hey, Johnny, didn't he say that?
What's the matter?
You know that hole in the cellar?
Yes.
Well, I think we've got an ace in the hole. Come, I'll show you.
Jonathan? Jonathan! Jonathan!
Yes, Mortimer?
I thought I told you to get going.
We're not going.
Oh, you're not. You think I'm not serious about this, huh? Do you want O'Hara to know what's in that window seat?
We're staying here.
All right. This gets me rid of you and O'Hara at the same time. Officer O'Hara, come in here.
If you tell O'Hara what's in the window seat, I'll tell her what's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who seems to be very dead.
What were you doing down in the cellar?
Oh, but what is he doing down in the cellar?
No thanks, ma'am. They were fine. I've had plenty.
Now what were you going to say to O'Hara?
Say, Mr. Brewster, your aunts want to hear it too. Shall I get them in here?
No, O'Hara, you can't do that now. You've got to ring in.
The heck with ringing in. I'll get your aunts in here and tell you the plot.
Not in front of all these people. We'll get together alone, someplace later.
How about the back room at Kelly's?
Fine. You go ring in and I'll meet you at Kelly's.
Why don't you two go down to the cellar?
That's all right with me. Is this the cellar?
No! You go ring in and I'll meet you at Kelly's.
All right. That'll only take a couple of minutes.
I'll ditch this woman and be back in 5 minutes. I'll expect to find you gone. Wait for me.
We'll wait for him, Doctor. I've waited a great many years for a chance like this.
Oh, and we got him where we want him. Oh, did he look guilty?
Take the bags back up to our room, Doctor.
Have they gone? Oh, we thought we heard somebody leave.
Just Mortimer, and he'll be back in a few minutes. Is there any food left in the kitchen? I think Dr. Einstein and I would enjoy a bite.
But you won't have time. No, if you're still here when Mortimer gets back, he won't like it.
Oh, he'll like it. He's got to like it.
Get something for us to eat while we bury Mr. Spinozzo in the cellar.
Oh, no, Jonathan, you can't do that. You have to take him with you.
There's a friend of Mortimer's downstairs waiting for him.
A friend of Mortimer's?
He and Mr. Spinozzo get along fine together. They're both dead.
Well, they must be Mr. Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins?
You know about what's downstairs?
Oh, of course we do, but he's no friend of Mortimer's. He's one of our gentlemen.
Your gentleman?
And we won't have any strangers buried in our cellar.
But Mr. Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins is not a stranger. Besides, there's no room for Mr. Spinozzo. The cellar's crowded already.
Crowded with what?
There are 12 graves down there.
12 graves?
And that leaves very little room, and we're going to need it.
You mean you and Aunt Martha have murdered?
Murder? Oh, certainly not. It's one of our charities. Why, what we've been doing is a mercy.
Jonathan, we have been chased all over the world, and they stayed right here in Brooklyn, and, well, they're good as you are.
No, Doctor, I've got 13.
Oh, no, Johnny. You've got 12.
No, Doctor, 13. Well, there's Mr. Spinozzo, then the first one in London, the 2 in Johannesburg, the 1 in Sydney, the 1 in Melbourne, the 2 in San Francisco, the 1 in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix?
The filling station. And then there's the 3 in Chicago and the 1 in South Bend. That makes 13.
Oh, no, Johnny. You can't count the one in South Bend. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have got pneumonia if I hadn't shot him.
No, Johnny. He died of pneumonia. He does not count.
He counts with me. I say 13.
Johnny, the old ladies, they're good as you are.
Well, they are they? Well, that's easily settled. All I need is one more. That's all. Just one more.
Well, here I am.
Will you stop doing that? This is our house and this is our cellar, and you can't do that!
Ladies, please, go back upstairs where you belong.
Abby, Martha, go upstairs.
There's no use you're doing what you're doing because it will just have to be undone. We won't have it. You better stop it right now. All right, you'll find out. You'll find out whose house this is. I'm warning you, you better stop it. Hasn't Mortimer come back yet? No. It's a terrible thing to do, to bury a good Methodist with a foreigner. Abby, I will not have our cellar desecrated, and we promised Mr. Hoskins a full Christian funeral. Where do you suppose Mortimer went? I don't know, but he told Jonathan before he left, you just wait, I'll settle this. Well, he can't very well settle it if he's not in the house. And that's all we want to settle. What's going on down there?
All right, now where's Teddy?
Mortimer, where have you been?
Been to Dr. Gilchrist. I had these commitment papers for Teddy signed.
Mortimer, what is the matter with you? Running around getting papers signed at a time like this. Do you know what Jonathan's doing? He's putting Mr. Spinozzo and Mr. Hoskins in together.
He is he? Well, let him. Is Teddy in his room?
Teddy won't be any help.
Once I get Teddy to sign these papers, I can tackle Jonathan.
What do they have to do with it?
You had to go and tell Jonathan about those 12 graves in the cellar, and if I can make Teddy responsible for those, I can protect you. Don't you see?
No, I don't see. And we pay taxes for the police to protect us.
I'll be back down in a minute.
Come along, Martha. We're going for the police.
The police? You can't go for the police.
Why can't we?
Because if you tell them about Mr. Spinozzo, they'll find Mr. Hoskins too. And that might make them curious, and they'll find out about the other 12 gentlemen.
Oh, Mortimer, I don't think the police would pry into our private affairs if we asked them not to.
You couldn't depend on that. It might leak out, and you couldn't trust a judge and jury to understand.
Oh, I'm not so sure they'd bother. You see, they'd have to write out a very long report. And if there's one thing a policeman hates to do, it's to write.
You could not trust a judge and jury to understand.
Oh, Judge Coleman would. We know him very well. He comes to church to pray just before election, and he's coming to tea someday. He's promised. Oh, Abby, we must speak to him again about that. His wife died a few years ago and has left him very lonely. Well, come along, Martha.
No, you can't do that. I won't let you. You can't leave this house, and you cannot have Judge Coleman to tea.
Well, if you're not going to do something about Mr. Spinozzo, then we are.
I am going to do something. We may have to call in the police, but if we do, I want to be ready for them.
You've got to get Jonathan out of this house. And Mr. Spinozzo, too.
Will you please let me do this my own way? Is Teddy in his room?
Mortimer, if Jonathan and Dr. Einstein are not out of this house by morning, we're going to call the police.
They'll be out, I promise. Go to bed, will you? And for God's sakes, get out of those clothes. You look like Wednesday Addams.
Oh, Abby, that's a relief, isn't it? Yes, if Mortimer's really going to do something, that means that Jonathan's going through a lot of unnecessary trouble. We better tell him. Oh, Jonathan! You might as well stop what you're doing.
It's all done. Did I hear Mortimer?
Well, it will just have to be undone. You and Dr. Einstein will be out of this house. Mortimer's promised.
Oh, are we? Well, in that case, you two can go to bed and have a pleasant night's sleep.
Yes, come, Abby.
Good night, aunties.
Not good night, Jonathan. Goodbye. By the time we get up, you and Dr. Einstein will be out of here. Mortimer's promised. And he has a way of doing it, too.
So Mortimer's back.
Yes, he's upstairs talking to Teddy. Goodbye, Jonathan. Goodbye, Jonathan.
Perhaps you better say goodbye to Mortimer.
Oh, you'll see, Mortimer.
Yes, I'll see, Mortimer.
Whew! That's something up. Smooth like a lake. Nobody ever knows they were down there. Oh, that bed feels good already. Oh, 48 hours and we didn't get any sleep. Come along, Johnny. Let's go to bed, eh?
You're forgetting, Doctor.
Forgetting what?
My brother Mortimer.
Oh, Johnny, not tonight. We do that tomorrow or the next day.
No, tonight. Now.
Oh, Johnny, not tonight. Tomorrow I've got to operate.
Yes, you're operating tomorrow, Doctor, but tonight we take care of Mortimer.
Oh, Johnny, not tonight. We go to bed, eh?
Doctor, look at me. You can see it's going to be done, can't you?
Yes, I can see. I know that look.
It's a little too late for us to dissolve our partnership.
Okay, we do it. But the quick way, the quick twist, like in London.
No, Doctor, this must be special. After all, well, maybe the Melbourne method.
No, Johnny, not the Melbourne method. 2 hours! When it was all over, what? The fellow in London was just dead as the fellow in Melbourne.
We had to work too quick in London. There was no aesthetic satisfaction to it. But Melbourne, there was something to remember.
Remember? Oh, I wish I didn't. No, Johnny, not Melbourne, not me.
Yes, Doctor, where are your instruments?
I won't tell you. I won't do it.
Where are they? Oh, yes, you hid them in the cellar. Where?
I won't tell you.
I'll find them, Doctor.
Don't do that, Mr. President.
But I cannot sign any proclamation without the consult of my cabinet.
This proclamation must be signed in secret.
A secret proclamation? How unusual.
Japan mustn't know until it is signed.
Japan! Those devils! I'll sign it right away. You have my word for it. I can let the cabinet know later.
Yes, let's go and sign it.
You wait here. A secret proclamation has to be signed. In secret.
But at once, Mr. President.
I'll have to put on my signing clothes.
You go now, eh?
Oh no, Doctor, I'm waiting for something important.
No, please, you go now.
Dr. Einstein, I have nothing against you personally. You seem to be a nice fellow and all, so take my advice and get just as far away as possible from this house.
Trouble, yeah. You get out.
All right, don't say I didn't warn you.
Oh, I'm warning you. Get away quick.
Things are going to start popping around this house any minute.
Listen, Johnny's in a bad mood, and when he's like this, things happen. Terrible things.
Jonathan doesn't worry me now.
Oh, Kimmel! Those players you see teach you anything?
About what?
Well, at least people in players act like they've got sense. That's more than you do.
Oh, you think so, do you? You think these people in plays act intelligently. I wish you had to sit through some of the ones I have to sit through. Take the little opus I saw tonight, for instance. In this play, there's a man. He's supposed to be bright. He knows he's in a house with murderers. He ought to know he's in danger. He's even been warned to get out of the house, but does he go? No. Now, I ask you, Dr. Einstein, is that something an intelligent person would do?
You're asking me?
He doesn't even have enough sense to be frightened, to be on guard. For instance, the murderer invites him to sit down.
You mean, won't you sit down?
Believe it or not, that one was in there too.
And, what did he do?
He sat down. Now, mind you, this fellow's supposed to be bright. So there he sits, just waiting to be trussed up. And what do you think they used to tie him with?
What?
The curtain cord.
The curtain cord. Very convenient.
A little too convenient. When are these playwrights going to start using some imagination? The curtain cord?
And he didn't see him, did it?
See him. He sat there with his back to him. Now that's the kind of stuff we have to sit through night after night. They say it's the critics who are killing the theater. It's the playwrights who are killing the theater. So there he sits, the big dope, the fella who's supposed to be bright, just waiting to be trussed up and gagged.
What? Right about that fellow. He wasn't very bright.
Now, Mortimer, if you don't mind, I'll finish the story. Mortimer, I've been away for 20 years, but never once in all that time, my dear brother, were you out of my mind. In Melbourne one night, I dreamed of you. In San Francisco, when we landed, I felt a strange satisfaction, for once again, I was in the same country with you. Well, now, Mortimer, we get to work.
Please, Johnny, for me, the quick way.
No, Doctor, this really must be an artistic achievement. After all, we're performing before a very distinguished critic.
Johnny!
Doctor!
Okay! Okay. Let's get this over with. I've got to have a drink. I can't do this without a drink. There was wine earlier, remember? Where did she put that? Oh, look, Johnny, we have a drink. I will split one with you.
Well, now, Mortimer, yes, I realized that it was you who brought me back to Brooklyn. Doctor, to my dear dead brother.
Hey, man!
That idiot! He goes next, that's all. He goes next.
What? No, Johnny. No, Teddy. That's where I stop.
We get to Teddy later.
Oh, we don't get him at all.
Now, Doctor, we've got to work fast.
Yeah. The quick way. Hey, Johnny?
Yes, Doctor, the quick way.
Hey, the colonel's gotta quit blowing that horn.
Oh, it's all right, officer. We're taking the bugle away from him.
There's going to be trouble to pay. We promised the neighbors he wouldn't do that anymore.
We'll take care of it, officer. It won't happen again. Good night.
I better speak to him myself. Hey, you stood me up. I waited an hour at Kelly's for you. What happened to him?
He was, explaining the thing he saw in the play tonight.
Did they have that in the play you saw tonight? Gee, they practically stole that from the second act of my play. Why, in my second act, just before the... You know, I'd better begin at the beginning. It opens in my mother's dressing room where I was born, except, you know, I ain't born yet. Huh? Oh, yeah. No, you've got to hear the part. Well, she's sitting there making up, see? When all of a sudden, through the door, a man with a black mustache comes in, turns to her and says, "Miss Latour, will you marry me?" He doesn't know. She's pregnant. There she is, lying unconscious across the table. The guy is standing over her with a hatchet. I'm tied to a chair, just like you are. The place is an inferno of flames. It's on fire. Then, all of a sudden, through the window, in comes Mayor LaGuardia. Hey, remember who paid for that? Go easy on it.
Well, I'm listening, ain't I?
How do you like it so far?
It put Johnny to sleep.
Let him alone. If he ain't got no more interest than that, he don't get a drink. All right, it's 3 days later. I've been transferred and I'm under charges. That's because somebody stole my badge. All right, I'm walking my beat on Staten Island, 46th precinct. When the guy I'm following turns out is really following me. Don't let anybody in. So I figure I'll outsmart him. There's a vacant house on the corner. I goes in.
It's cops!
I stand there in the dark and I see the door handle turn.
Johnny, wake up, it's cops! Cops!
I pulls my guns, brace myself against the wall, and I says, come in. Hello, boys.
What the heck is going on here?
Hey, pal, what do you know? This is Mortimer Brewster. He's gonna help me write my play. I was just telling him the story.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen?
Joe, you better report in at the station. The whole force is out looking for you.
Did they send you here for me?
We didn't know you was here.
We came to warn the old ladies that there's trouble. The colonel blew that bugle again in the middle of the night.
The way the neighbors have been calling in about it, you'd think the Germans have dropped a bomb on Flatbush Avenue.
Lieutenant's on the warpath. The colonel's got to be put away someplace.
Yes.
Gee, Mr. Brewster, I gotta get away. I'll run through the third act quick.
Get away from me. Say, do you know what time it is? It's after 8 o'clock in the morning.
It is? Gee, Mr. Brewster, them first 2 acts run a little long, but I don't see anything we can leave out.
You can leave it all out.
Hey, who the heck is this guy?
That's my brother.
Oh, the one that ran away? So he came back.
Yes, he came back.
This is Brophy. Give me Matt. I better let them know what we found you, Joe. Matt, tell the lieutenant he can call off the big manhunt. We got him. At the Brewster house. Do you want us to hold him here? All right, we'll keep him right here. Lieutenant is on his way over.
So that's it. I've been turned in. All right, you got me. And I suppose you and that stool-pigeon brother of mine will split the reward.
Reward?
Well, now I'll do some turning in. You think those aunts of mine are sweet, charming old ladies, do ya? Well, there are 13 bodies buried in their cellar.
Teddy! What the heck are you talking about?
You better be careful what you're saying about your aunts. They happen to be good friends of ours.
13 bodies. I'll show you where they're buried.
Wait a minute.
You don't want to see what's down in the cellar?
Go on down in the cellar with them, Abe.
I don't think I want to go down in the cellar with this guy. Look at that puss. He looks like Norman Bates. Hey, what the heck? Hey, Pat, get him off me!
What do you think you're doing?
Well, what do you know about that?
Come in!
What the hell are you men doing here? I told you I was going to handle this.
Well, sir, we was just about to...
What happened? Did he put up a fight?
This ain't the guy that blows the bugle. This is his brother. He tried to kill Klein.
All I said was that he looked like Norman Bates.
Turn him over.
We kind of think he's wanted somewhere.
Oh, you kind of think he's wanted somewhere? If you two don't read the circulars that we hang up in the station, at least you could read True Detective. Certainly he's wanted in Indiana. Escaped from the prison for the criminal insane. He's a lifer. For God's sake, that's how he was described. He looked like Bates.
Is there a reward mentioned?
Yeah, and I'm claiming it.
He tried to get us down in the cellar.
He said there was 13 bodies buried down there.
13 bodies buried in the cellar? And that didn't tip you off that he came out of a nut house?
I thought all along he talked kind of crazy.
Oh, it's Shakespeare. Where have you been all night? And you needn't bother to tell me.
I've been right here, sir, writing my play with Mortimer Brewster.
Yeah? Or you're gonna have plenty of time to write that play. You're suspended. Now get back and report in.
Can I come over sometime and use the station typewriter?
No! Get out of here! Take that guy someplace else and bring him too. See what you can find out about his accomplice. You know, the guy that helped him escape? He's wanted too. No wonder Brooklyn's in the shape it's in with a police force full of flatheads like you. Falling for that kind of story. 13 bodies in the cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
Who are you?
I am President Roosevelt.
What is this?
He's the fellow that blows the bugle.
Good morning, Colonel.
Well, Colonel, you've blown your last bugle. Dear me, another yellow fever victim. What? All the bodies in the cellar are yellow fever victims.
No, Colonel, this is a spy we caught in the White House.
Will you get that guy out of here? If there's gonna be questioning of spies, that's my department. You keep out of this. You're forgetting, as president, I am also head of the Secret Service.
Captain, I'm Mortimer Brewster.
Are you sure?
I'd like to talk to you about my brother Teddy, the one who blew the bugle last night.
Mr. Brewster, we ain't gonna talk about that. He's got to be put away.
Oh, I quite agree. In fact, it's all been arranged for. I had these papers signed by our family physician, Dr. Gilchrist. You see, Teddy signed them himself, and I've signed as next of kin.
Well, where's he going?
Happy Day.
All right, I don't care where he goes as long as he goes.
Oh, he's going, all right. I just want you to know that everything that's happened around here, Teddy is responsible for. Now, those 13 bodies.
Oh,
in the
yeah,
cellar.
yeah, those 13 bodies in the cellar. It ain't enough that the neighbors were all afraid of him and his disturbing the peace with that bugle, but can you imagine if some cockeyed story about 13 bodies in the cellar got around? And now he's starting a yellow fever scare? Cute, ain't it?
13 bodies in the cellar. Do you think anyone would ever believe that story?
Well, you can't tell. Some people are just dumb enough. You don't know what to believe sometimes. About 3 years ago, I had to dig up a half-acre lot just to prove that.
Well, if you excuse me for one moment.
Good morning, Mortimer.
Good morning, dear.
This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's come to meet Teddy.
To meet Teddy.
Mr. Witherspoon, the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, come right in. This is Captain...
Lieutenant Rooney. I'm glad you're here, Super, because you're taking him back with you today.
Today?
Not today.
Oh, Elaine, I've got a lot of business to attend to, so you run along home and I'll call you up.
Nuts!
I had no idea it was this immediate.
The papers are all signed. He goes today. Complete insubordination. When the President of the United States is treated like this, what has this country come to? There's your man, Super.
Just a minute. Mr. President, I have very good news for you. Your term of office is over.
Is it March the 4th already?
Practically.
Let me see. Yes, now I go on my hunting trip to Africa. Is he trying to throw me out of the White House before I am ready to leave?
Ooh, Teddy.
Taft!
Oh, this isn't Taft. This is Mr. Witherspoon. He's to be your tour guide in Africa.
Oh, well, bully, let me get my supplies. Goodbye, Aunt Martha. Goodbye, Aunt Amy. I'm off to Africa.
Good morning, darlings.
Oh, we have visitors.
Yes, this is Lieutenant Rooney.
How do you do, Lieutenant? My, you don't look like the bus budget the policemen say you are.
Why, the lieutenant is here because, as you know, Teddy blew his bugle again last night.
Oh, yes, we were going to speak to him again about that.
It's a little more serious than that, Miss Brewster.
You haven't met Mr. Witherspoon. He's the superintendent of Happydale.
How do you do, Mr. Witherspoon? You've come to meet Teddy.
He's come to take him.
You see, the police want Teddy to go to Happydale today.
Oh, no, not while we're alive.
I'm sorry, Miss Brewster, but it has to be done. The papers are all signed and he's going along with the superintendent.
We won't permit it. We promise to take the bugle away from him. We will not be separated from Teddy.
I'm sorry, ladies, but the law's the law. He's committed himself and he's going.
Well, if he's going, then we're going too. Yes, you'll just have to take us with him.
Why not?
Well, that's sweet of them to want, but it's impossible. We can't take sane people at Happydale.
Now, Mr. Witherspoon, if you'll let us live there with Teddy, we'll see that Happydale is in our will, and for a very generous amount.
Well, the Lord knows we could use the money, but I'm afraid
Now let's be sensible about this, ladies. For instance, here I am wasting my morning when I've got serious work to do. You know there are still murders to be solved in Brooklyn.
Yes. Oh, are there?
Yeah. It ain't only his bugle blowing and the neighbors all afraid of him, but things would just get worse. Sooner or later, we'd be put to the trouble of digging up your cellar.
Our cellar?
Yeah. Your nephew's been telling around that there are 13 bodies in your cellar.
But there are 13 bodies in our cellar. And if you think you can go down there and dig them up, that would not be good. They're all marked, and we put flowers on them every Sunday.
Flowers? Superintendent, don't you think you can find some room for these ladies?
Well, I believe I might.
Well, you come along with us, and we'll show you the graves.
I'll take your word for it, lady. I'm a busy man. How about it, Super?
Well, they'd have to be committed.
Teddy committed himself. He signed the papers, can't they?
Why, certainly.
Well, if you'll let us live there with Teddy, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
Yes, where are they?
He's coming around, Lieutenant.
Good morning, Mr. Klein. Good morning, Mr. Klein. Are you here too?
Yeah, Brophy and me are out in the kitchen. We've got your other nephew.
Well, sign him up, Superintendent. I want to get this all cleaned up. 13 bodies.
If you'll sign right here.
And you here, Aunt Abby.
I'm really looking forward to going. The neighborhood's changed so.
Oh, just think, a front lawn again.
Oh, we're overlooking something.
What?
We're going to need the signature of a doctor.
Dr. Einstein, will you come over here for a minute? We'd like you to sign something.
Oh, please,
Just come right over, Doctor. At one time last night, I thought the doctor was going to operate on me.
Were you leaving, Doctor?
I think I must go.
Aren't you going to wait for Jonathan?
I don't think me and Johnny are going to the same place.
Glad to see you, Elaine. Stick around, huh?
Don't worry, I'm going to.
Hello, Mac. Rooney. We picked up that guy that's wanted in Indiana. Now there's a description of his accomplice on the desk there. Read it to me. Yeah. About 5'4", 56, 140 pounds, brown eyes, talks with a German accent, poses as a doctor. Thanks, Mac.
It's all right, Lieutenant. The doctor just completed the signatures.
Thanks, Doc. You're really doing Brooklyn a service.
Now, Mr. Brewster, you sign as next of kin.
Yes, of course. Right here?
That's fine.
That makes everything complete, everything legal.
Oh, yes.
Well, Aunties, now you're safe.
When do you think you'll be ready to start?
Oh, Mr. Witherspoon, how about you go upstairs and tell Teddy what he can take to Happydale?
Upstairs?
I'll show him.
Oh, no, Mortimer, we want to speak to you. Yes, Mr. Witherspoon is just upstairs and to the left.
Well, Mortimer, now this house really is yours now that we're leaving.
Yes, we want you to live here.
I can't do that, Aunties. This house is too full of memories.
But you and Elaine will need a house when you're married.
Now, darlings, that is very indefinite.
It's nothing of the kind. Mortimer and I are going to get married right away.
Mortimer, we're very worried about something.
Don't worry, darlings. You're going to love it at Happydale.
Oh, we're very happy about the whole thing. It's just we don't want anything to go wrong.
Do you think they'll investigate those signatures?
Don't worry, they're not going to look up Dr. Einstein.
It's not his signature, dear. It's yours.
You see, he's signed as next of kin.
Yes, of course. Why not?
Well, it's something we never wanted to tell you. You see, now that you're a man, and it's something Elaine should know too. You see, dear, you're not really a Brewster.
Your mother came to work for us as a cook, and you were born about 3 months afterwards. But then her poor husband died, and she was such a sweet woman, and we didn't want to lose her, so we adopted the baby and brought him up ourselves.
I'm not really a Brewster.
And Elaine, it won't make any difference to you?
Elaine, did you hear that? Do you understand? I'm not really a Brewster.
Well, now I really must see about breakfast.
Mortimer's coming over to my house. Father's gone to Philadelphia, and Mortimer and I are going to have breakfast together.
Yes, I need some coffee. I've had quite a night.
I think you'd want to get to bed.
I do.
One moment, Witherspoon. Take this.
We won't need the wagon. My car is out front.
Aren't you leaving, Jonathan?
Yeah, he's going back to Indiana. There's some people there that want to take care of him for the rest of his life.
We're leaving too.
Jonathan, we're glad to know that you have a place to go.
So this house is seeing the last of the Brewsters.
Well, not if Mortimer chooses to live here.
I have a suggestion to make. Why don't you turn this property over to the church?
Well, we haven't thought about that.
After all, it should be part of the cemetery.
All right, get going. I'm a busy man.
Well, now, aunties, I can't better my score now, but neither can you. At least I have that satisfaction. The score stands even, 12 to 12.
Jonathan always was a mean boy. He can never stand to see anyone get ahead of him.
Yes, I wish we could show him he isn't so smart. Oh, Mr. Witherspoon. Does your family live with you at Happy Dale?
I have no family.
Oh!
Well, I suppose you consider everyone your family at Happy Dale.
I'm afraid you don't quite understand. As head of the institution, I have to keep quite aloof.
Well, that must make it quite lonely for you.
It does, but my job is my livelihood.
Well, Martha, if Mr. Witherspoon won't join us for breakfast, then I think we ought to offer him a glass of our elderberry wine.
Elderberry wine?
We make it ourselves.
Why, yes. Of course, at Happy Dale, our relationship will be more formal, but here, you don't see much elderberry wine nowadays. I thought I'd had my last glass of it.
Oh, no.
No, here it is.
Before you all leave, we have a quick announcement.
Okay. Can Shepard, Schuler, Will Perkins, and Mary Fye come up here?
This show could have definitely not been possible without these four people. From sound to set to character development, they did it all. So give them a round of applause. Perkins. Got it.
Mary Fye.
Thank you.
Is that?
And
Our
our stage
stage
manager,
manager.
Kelly Appleton.